Hello everyone, my name is Tim van Wert. I'm a producer, musician and DJ. Welcome to my studio here in the Netherlands. Today we're going to talk about my song Believe. I wrote this one together with Misha Miller, the singer. She's really amazing. We released it on Protocol Recordings by Nico Ramiro. And yes, today I'm going to show you how I wrote this song and produced it. So let's dive into this project. The first thing you see is that I produce in Logic Pro X. The reason why is I studied at the Herman Brood Academy, where they teach us how to produce and record in this particular DAW. This is the extended mix of Believe. So the first bars are not really interesting. They're made for the DJ so they can mix in the songs together. Yeah, let's start the song. This is the first verse, really relaxed. There's a beat going on to give a nice flow already on it. Then really quickly you already go to the first drop, which is really minimal. I think the drop is about 1 minute, and as you can hear, after 8 bars, something extra is being added. Another element, percussion, new sounds, just to make it more interesting. Some vocal effects. There are some pads that are opening. You can see there's a lot of automation going on, like here filters. And I'm gonna skip to a small breakdown right after the first drop. The project has, let me see, 120 tracks. The first thing you notice is that you see a lot of folders in here. They are called track stacks. It's a really easy way to find your instruments really quick and to process multiple sounds on one track. For instance, if I have these 3 tracks and they're kind of the same, these are all one bass. And right click, then you go to track stack, summing stack. And now you've created your own folder. It's really handy. Let's continue to the song. Now we are going to the second verse. Percussion is still going on. And then at some point, the percussion will be removed to give it a more open feeling vibe, a more dreamy vibe to it. All the pads are open, the filters. After this break, we are going to a small build-up. You can hear that a lot of sounds are coming into this second drop, like the trumpets, drums, basses, the top line effects, all in the second drop. But let's start with the first drop and how I made that. It's really minimal. It's just a kick, a bass, and a pad. It's just this part over here. Yeah, let's start from the top. You can hear the kick over here. Really simple, really short. Together with the bass, it sounds like this. The bass is this Moog Sub 37. It's just one of the best synthesizers for basses. It's a mono synth, and yeah, you just need one sound. As you can see, I only added some EQ and nothing that much on it. Yeah, the sound is already there. It's so good. If we're going to the kick, you see that there's only just some EQing and an LFO tool, which is sidechain. On the EQ, I did a bit of low cut just below 35 hertz, because most systems out there, they won't go any lower and you won't hear them. And frequencies you don't need, then it's better to remove them, because in the end you want your mix as tight as possible or as clean as possible, and then it will be messy around in the low ends. So then you just remove them if you don't need them. Later on the kick, there's some more EQ, a really heavy EQ from Waves, the C6. Again, that's just for automation, because in the breaks you don't want your kick to be that loud. That's why I automated it. Yeah, I run it through a bus. On this bus there's an SSL compressor and this fat FX from Logic itself. One thing to make your kick stand out together with your bass is sidechaining. What I did here on the bass is this sidechain tool from LFO, and one as well here on the kick, just to make sure that they're not playing together, because these frequencies are really low, and if you play them together then it will sound really messy. So yeah, that's basically the low end. On top of it I've added a bass. It's this one. Together with the Moog it sounds really nice. And as you can see on the first drop, it's really minimal. So I've did a high cut on it and automated it till over here. So now it's really closed. And to make it more interesting, it's opening slightly along the way. So yeah, that's basically the low end. Then we can go to the leads. Over here we've got a retro synth, some synths from Omnisphere, some higher synths. Yeah, let's just check them out. This is the main lead of this project, of this song, and it's the retro synths from Logic itself. This is how it sounds without anything on it. It sounds really warm, but it's still it sounds really harsh. So therefore I've added some filters over here, which you can play around. As you can see, it's playing already with the automation. And let me see, this one, the G37 from Waves. What this does, most synthesizers or digital synthesizers sound really digital. And to make it more organic, I'm using this plugin, the G37. And what it does, it has a pitch envelope over here. What it actually does, it's pitching up and down. If I do it really heavy, it will sound like this. But if you do it really subtle, it will make your sound so much more organic. Then on top of it, a fab filter. What this does, I'm boosting here the high ends, but then only the sides. If we go to the filter, you can see I've automated it, and it will sound like this. This gives a really nice effect for especially for minimal tracks like this. But the thing in the mix is, when you do this, when the filter's opening, it will sound really loud. So that's why I'm adding a multiband compressor over here. And as you can see, that if it's opening here, the multiband compressor is starting. So in this way, it's easier to mix your songs, because it will always have the same level. Then we can go to the next lead over here. It's from Omnisphere. Again, it's all packed in one track stack. What you can hear, there's one harp going on from Omnisphere, one piano. And together they sound really nice. Yeah, let's go to Omnisphere first. So it's a sample from Omnisphere. It's a Juno 106 saw wave. Yeah, yeah, just a simple saw wave. Then if we go to the channel strip, you see the Maserati on it from Waves. And what this does is it gives a little bit more punch on it. Then again, the G37, some saturation. These are the settings. Clip distortion, and then this Oxford Trance mod. What this does, it gives some extra punch, more on the attack. I can show you. So if you play with this ratio, you can hear the difference from zero attack to a lot of punch. Then I've added a black hole over here. It's a reverb, one of the best reverbs out there, especially for songs like this dreamy kind of vibe. That's actually what I want to create with my songs. That it's hopeful, dreamy, yeah, and that it has a relaxed vibe on it, but also able to dance on it, of course. The black hole sounds like this. It's really wide and really long. Just some simple EQing and an LFO. And you can see that I only did the first milliseconds. That when the kick comes in, all sounds will be muted for a millisecond, so the kicks really punches through your mix. Then the piano underneath it, it's again from Omnisphere. The sample is called Ambient Space Piano. What I always like to do on my pianos is this SSL channel. It's an EQ and compressor in one. Together with this H compressor from Waves, it sounds really nice. And to blend the sounds together, I've added a high cut over here on the piano, so they really blend in together now. Then I've run it through a bus. It's bus 16 here. It's just an overdrive in mono. What this does is it gives the mono signal a bit more punch. And it leaves the sides for what it is. Bus 2 on my channel strip is an H delay. This is a really easy plugin to work with. You just add it and yeah, it does its thing. And it has ping pong on it, which also gives a really nice effect from left and right. Then you can see here that I've reversed the Omnisphere sound. This is how you do that. First, I've added these two in a track stack, and then you have to add a lot of reverb. And what you're gonna do is bounce them into the project. So now you've got your bounce with a lot of reverb on it. And then we're gonna check, okay, we want this one. And then we're gonna reverse this one and place it in front of the original lead. And now we've created our reverse synth. And with this, it gives your track so much more detail, more interesting sounds on it. And yeah, it's just between a demo and a finished track. And if you add things like this, FX, it will make it sound more interesting to listen at. So these are the higher synths over here. They sound like this. Again, an Omnisphere and the Zebra. These are really high and harsh, and these are warmer, and together they blend really well. And as you can see, I've added them in a track stack, and which gives me now the opportunity to process them all together. So in my mix, I would like to have my basses and my kick in the middle, so mono. The pads can be a little bit wider in the mids, and in the high ends, I would like to have it really wide, and this gives a more an open feel. Yeah, again, the Fat Filter Pro X, where I boosted the highs for 5.3 dB. And really can hear if I don't add them. It sounds more boring, and with it on, yeah, it's finishing the track. Here are some other synths. It starts from the first drop. There's a flute in it, and a groovy plug. Let's start with the groovy plug first. Probably added some automation here. Again, a filter. So when it comes in, first it's really soft and dark, and later on you can see that it's opening here. I've built this one in Omnisphere. Let me see what sample it is. It's the compression of energy. Nice. Some saturation, clip distortion, again, some EQing. And here's some interesting harmonics. What this does, it gives your sound harmonics. Here you can hear it without. So it's really adding some harmonics in the high end. Really nice. Then on top, a transient design. This gives your track more attack on the plug. It's really useful for plugs. You can hear the difference here. And to give your plug a little bit more attack, you can use this envelope. You can really see where it's gonna start and where it's gonna end. Another cool thing with the enveloper is that you can also change the release. So if you think that your plug is too long, you can shorten it here with gain down. Really useful for plugs. Again, an LFO tool for sidechaining, and a tremolo. What this does is the signal is going in, and then it's going from the left to the right. Then it's running through bus 3, the black hole reverb on it, then bus 2 for a delay, and bus 16 for the overdrive again. So yeah, these are actually the leads and the synths. And now we can go to the instruments. You can hear that I've recorded the trumpet here, some strings, a Castle support. Yeah, let's check them out. Let's go to the strings first. I've recorded them in this Nord stage piano. It sounds really nice, especially the samples for strings, and they sound like this. Just some automation on it in the breaks. And again, you see that I've stacked them together. Nothing much more than just some EQing on it. The difference is here in the drop, you can see that I've added some highs to make it more stand out in the drop. And on the breaks, I've dipped some highs to give it more warmer feeling in the breaks. And yeah, you can see orchestral support here. I guess it's a pad, yeah, from Omnisphere. And together, it blends really nice. Then we can go to the trumpet section. As you can see, I've recorded it myself. This trumpet is the Yamaha Seino trumpet. I've been playing the trumpet since I was 8 years old, and it's really nice to record it now and use it in my own songs. As you can see, I've recorded it note by note. So yeah, let's check one out. This is how they sound together. And this is how I recorded them. For instance, this one. As you can hear, it sounds really thin. That's why I'm using this Puke track. It sounds really nice on brasses. Then on top of it, another compressor from Logic itself. Another one from Waves. The Maserati, which we saw earlier, but then this one sounds better for brasses. But it also gives the attack on your sound. As you can hear, I played it the first note really loud and then really soft to create tension and release. Then on side points, it's going louder. Multiband compressor, especially in the highs, you can see it's dipping when it's playing louder. But I still wanted to have that attack, so on top of this multiband compressor, I did the Oxford. Just some small EQing. I've dipped the highs a bit because the trumpet already sounds really high from itself. But I wanted to make it sound more warm, so I've added a little bit more in the mids and the low mids. As you can see, I've recorded it note by note, and I've did some panning over here. You literally have to play note by note and create your own harmonies and chords, actually. You can see some really aggressive panning over here. One extreme to the right, run to the left, then some in the middle, and some others in the middle as well. Mixing trumpets, strings, and other orchestral instruments. Yeah, it's easier to imagine yourself standing in front of an orchestra. People are playing on the left, the trumpets. Some are playing on the right. In the back, you can hear some playing some cellos or trumpets or trombones. Yeah, that's the way I'm thinking and mixing as well. So if we play all these trumpets together, then this BX Digital comes in. I've used it for stereo imaging to make it wider. First, it sounds this if it's just the normal recording. If you close this one, everything goes mono. And if you open this, everything's playing on the right and the left. And in the end, it's really easier to mix with these kind of plugins because, yeah, a lot of percussion, drums, basses are in the middle. Pads are a little bit wider. And the higher sounds, like these trumpets and the synths, the higher synths, you want them on the sides. So this is one really simple plugin to add on it and to mix it easier. Together, all the instruments sound like this. And that's actually the main sound of the second drop of this song. And now we can check out these horn effects on top of this. They sound like this. And that's just the same effect that I did earlier, just reversing one of your sounds. So now I think we can check out the percussion. It actually starts here with plucks as well, and bells. This is how they sound. You can see there are a lot of packages over here. One important thing with percussion is where to place your drums. For example, if we check out this clap together with a kick, you can really hear that it's blending together. Normally, if you drag in your samples, they will start at the grid, then it will sound like this. But if you move some samples a bit forward or some a little bit later, then it will sound like this. It sounds more snappy and it blends in together. Then on this section, you can see some smaller percussion things. These are really nice to give your song more interesting elements in it, more detail. Yeah, it sounds like this. So the listener will be more interested if you hear something new after 4 or 8 bars. But also the first drop is really minimal over here. No percussion, only a small loop is playing. It's this click loop. It sounds like this without anything on it. An SSL compressor on it, and then this auto filter. This thing gives really movement to your sound, to your percussion. First the filter, which is opening and closing, some distortion, and an LFO to make your sound go left and right. Some EQing, a high cut, some more, and an LFO too again. And here are some small pulses going on, bells. And this gives a really nice drive to your track. You can hear some tambourines and shakers are going on. Again, I've stacked them together to process them all in once. I think this one is interesting. First the SSL to make the percussion a little bit warmer, and then this really nice tool from Noise 2. This is without the Noise 2, and this with. And what this does, it's when the signal comes in this plugin, it generates noise. So if I'm opening this release over here, it's just adding noise. And this is also really cool to use for your build-ups, for instance, like playing with the release. Again, an enveloper. This one is really useful for percussion. You can see that I've dragged the attack down over here. And some release, because if I left this release on, it would sound like this. But I wanted it to make it more tight, so this plugin is really useful for this. Then some simple EQing. Again, the BX Digital, the Brainworks, to make it a little bit wider. Yeah, and that's basically it. The tambourines, they almost have the same processing. The other lips as well. We can check out this head. Without the plugins, it sounds like this. Some distortion, SSL channel. And you can really hear what this Denise plugin does. Without it's nothing, and now it's really a hat. There's the boot block playing. It really supports the claps and all the percussion together. Triangle. This triangle really gives a groove. You can hear it without. You can hear some movement going on as well from the tremolo over here. Some distortion, an imager, which does actually almost the same as the Brainworks, but this one is more precise. You can change the bends as well on this one. And this is how I manage them together. First, I've tried to make it more groovy with a louder one. And then beneath it, I filled it up with smaller triangles. And you can see that I've run all my percussion through this Bus 10. This is a different reverb than the Black Hole one. I've used this from Eventide as well, the 2016 stereo room. Yeah, and it's really nice for percussion. Without. Underneath, you can see the effects over here. These are just noises, risers, sweeps, and they sound like this. Then we can go to the top line from Misha Miller. She wrote it together with Manuel Riva, and I'm so happy with this top line. Yeah, let's start.
Take away your fear and strain. Don't break your trust, don't break it through the time.
So a little bit about vocal processing. First, when you receive your top line, it will sound like this. It's really dry. It has nothing on it.
Baby, just don't give up. I'll show you what is left.
And the first thing that I'm actually doing is cleaning the vocal. So the first thing I'm noticing is that she is breathing just right before she's gonna sing, which is normal. But I want to remove these things. So if you remove this and do a little bit of a nice fade in over here, then it sounds more relaxed in your mix.
I'll show you what is left.
And if you do that all along your top line, then in the end, your mix will sound a lot more cleaner. To make the processing easier, I always add a reverb first. This will make it sound more natural for your ears, and it's just easier to process.
I'll show you what is left.
Maybe some delay as well. Then I'm going to EQ it, removing the frequencies you don't need. This is a female top line, so she has already a lot of highs in it, so I did a dip on the high end. Boost a little bit on 800 hertz. Another thing I do is checking the volume. On some parts, you're singing it louder than other parts. So for instance, here it's louder than here.
I'll be by your side.
So if you want this word side a little bit louder, then you just select this part and then gain it up. until it's matching with the other samples.
Be by your side.
And this makes the compressing a little bit easier because now the level input is the same everywhere. The first compressor I'm using is this one from Waves, the Sheps 73. Yeah, I just play it and see if the view meter is not going into red.
I'll be by your side.
And I'm gonna check this all over the top line. And when I did that, you can add some more compressors. This H compressor from Waves is really nice. Here are some more compressors over here, a limiter. Another thing with top lines are the S's and the T's that someone is singing. Let me see if I can find one.
Ooh, baby, just don't give up. I'll show you what is love.
I'll show you. You can hear the S in show, which is really harsh and really loud. So you want to remove these parts. The first thing I do is select the S.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
And then I'm adding this de-esser. And what it does is it finds the right frequency, the right hertz, and then it's going to dip it there when it comes in.
I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you what is love. I'll show you what is love. I'll show you what is love.
And what's going into red over here, that's actually what you're dipping.
I'll show you what is love.
Then again, some more EQing, more de-essers.
I'll show you what is love.
And the black hole here just as an effect, just right before the drop.
Don't
Yes,
break
over here.
trust. I'll be by your side.
This gives a really cool effect just right before the drop. You can hear it here.
Trust. I'll be by your side.
Then over here we've got the backings. Not really a backing. I just copied the takeaway part and I run it through the same, almost the same channel strip, except for this one, this little micro shift. It sounds really cool. It's like a chorus, and yeah, you can hear the difference here. Dry and now really wet. Yeah, it just gives a really nice effect. Some EQing to give a telephone effect with low cuts and high cuts. And that's basically it. Okay, now we can go to the mixing and mastering part. I'm actually already mixing it while producing it. Mixing wise, it gives also a sound that you want. So I prefer to mix it while producing. But in the end, you have to master it. Let's take down these steps and how I did that. The first thing I want to check with mastering is if my track is not going into red. You can see it here. The input is -3, -4, -5. That's all okay. You don't want to go into red because you want to keep some headroom. And why do you want to keep some headroom? For example, if you have this glass of water and it's already filled on top of it, then you can't add anything. Now you've left a little bit of headroom, so now I can add some flavors and extra things, which I'm gonna do right now. The first thing I'm adding is a multiband compressor because I want to compress all the bands separately. Some EQing where I'm missing parts. I was missing a little bit, like tiny B in the lows and some in the highs. So that's why I'm boosting it. Then this compressor, it's like a beast. It sounds really good. Then a limiter on top of it, where I'm boosting also some parts. And then this reference track, which helps me a lot. What this does is it's scanning the song from another song that you really like. And what this does is now I can check all the parts separately from the low ends, the mids and the highs, and check it with the other track. So now I can make sure that they're almost the same level as the other one. The other plugins over here are automated. This is a reverb. Just right before the drop, you can see it's opening from 0 to 40%. And it gives a really nice effect just right before the drop. Yeah, it's literally adding reverb. Here's a stereo tool. And what this does is it making the sound from stereo to mono. This is how it sounds. First it's all stereo. And then it's going mono. And just right before the drop it opens. And here's a gain, which I also animated just right before the drop for like 2 dBs. Yeah, and this really finishes your track actually. So yes, this was my first Logic session. I hope you liked it. I hope it was interesting. Just let me know in the comments what you think of it and what you want to hear and see next time. Ciao.